Hi, Paul Sakis, Good News Planet. I'm speaking to Dr. Joel Zive. Hi, Doctor. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Paul. How are you?
I'm very good. It says a BS and a Pharma D. What's a Pharma D?
Doctorate of Pharmacy.
Aha. Okay. I am always asking my pharmacist XYZ all the time. We're going to talk about prescription medication. Did you know that generics or authorized generics may be available, and that there is some difference actually in generics? But I don't necessarily do know that. All I know is that be frank, I most of the time say, "Can you get me the least expensive medication, or is there a generic?" Uh, but I don't even know if I necessarily know what I'm talking about. What is the difference?
Well, a couple of things I just want to talk to you about first is that whether you're headed to the pharmacy, you get your medications online, you do have more options than you think. So you've heard of generic medications. These are drugs that work in the same way as brand name ones, but there are different categories of generic medications, and it's important you know your choices. So when it comes to prescription medication, it's good to make an informed decision starting with knowing your options. So you have brand name medications, you have generics, and a lesser known category of generic medications called authorized generics.
Okay. So now, but your pharmacist, I'm sorry, your doctor makes a prescription,
Mm-hmm.
and they usually, most of the time, I think, makes a prescription for the actual branded name, right? And then who makes the decision on whether you get a generic, or does the doctor give you that decision? How does that work?
Well, from state to state, there are various ways that generics are chosen, right? But authorized generics, and what we're talking about, that's a category of generic drugs that are made by the manufacturer of a brand name drug. And they have brand names on their labels. They may have different marking on the medication, and in some cases may even be of a different color. Now, this is kind of important for your listeners to know. To keep in mind that all generic medications work in the same way, and they provide the same clinical benefit as their brand name medication, and are required to meet quality and manufacturing standards of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA. Now, getting back to authorized generics, there are lesser known prescription medication options. For example, Greensill, a Pfizer company, who I am here on behalf of today and compensating me for my time, they've been providing authorized generic versions of original brand name medications for 25 years.
Aha. Okay. So Pfizer, great company. Um, just walked by their 42nd Street. And they always have great windows of very, all the socially responsible outreach that company does and has been doing for years. I believe they started in Brooklyn, USA, a long time ago. So, um, here's an example. I don't know if it's a Pfizer product or not. So I take Tricor, statin, and then they always give me phenofibrillate. uh, what in my situation? What is that? It's a authorized generic.
Well, that's an interesting question. Some drugs are authorized generics. Some drugs aren't. But the best thing you could do is speak to your pharmacist about them or your healthcare provider, because pharmacists generally have the ability to order um, uh, if you specify an authorized generic, then the pharmacy could order it. But again, it's
Uh-huh.
important that you speak to your healthcare provider or pharmacist. It's important, Paul. Just have a conversation with them.
Okay. So, but I will do it. I will do that. But I'm taking this for a long, long, long time. They just kind of do it at this point. And my doctor calls it in. But I guess my question is that is that something that the pharmacists usually will say themselves? A pharmacist, when they fill a prescription, do you want the generic? Will they say that to a potential person buying?
Well, that's an interesting question, but at the same time, there's a lot of factors that go into whether a drug is dispensed as a generic. I'm really here to talk about authorized generics and what's important for people to understand their options.
Oh, okay. All right, then. Then one more time. What is then an authorized generic?
As I said, there are a category of generic drugs that are made by the manufacturer of the brand name drug, and they don't have the brand name on their labels, and may have a different marking, and in limited circumstances, it may even be a different color.
And then who? I apologize. Then who?
That's
who
okay.
who? So does my doctor say you can get the authorized drug, as opposed to the brand name?
Well, the interesting part about this is that a patient could speak to their pharmacist, and they could actually request them. Now, there's a website called greenstonegenerics.com where they can learn more about authorized generics and where to locate them.
Hold on one second, please. What is that what website?
Greenstonegenerics.com.
Green GREEN STONE
generics.com.
Aha. Sounds to me like this is something I should be speaking to my doctor about.
Absolutely. You can either speak to your healthcare provider or pharmacist.
But the healthcare provider is, say, Aetna, okay, in my case. I would ask them about authorized generics and say to them, are they covered? Is that the question I'm asking a healthcare provider?
Well, think of a healthcare provider as anybody that can write a prescription.
Oh, healthcare provider, the doctor, you mean? Okay, not the insurance agency.
Well, yeah, I mean, and when you're thinking of healthcare provider, think of somebody who can write their prescription. And I guess if you think, but you can also think of somebody who's an insurer as well.
No, I'm thinking of the doctor. The doctor's the only person I know who can write a prescription, right?
Well, there are other specialties that can write prescriptions.
There's
like a nurse, like a nurse practitioner or physician's assistant.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. So the other people in more than likely a doctor's office scenario, they could be writing a prescription. Okay, I've always had just doctors. All right. Well, this is new information to me. What is Greenstone Generics? Tell me a little bit about that.
What would you like? Well, basically, they're a Pfizer company, and they make authorized generics.
Okay. And so Greenstone Authorized Generics. Interesting. All right, I didn't know this, but they make generics of the Pfizer brand, correct?
That's correct, and they also do generics of other medications as well. Authorized generics, yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't have to only be a. All right, so that's. So then I would be asking for. I'm going to start with my doctor because I don't go anywhere without him. And say, doctor, is there an authorized generic that goes along with that? Or maybe he's always been just taking that for granted.
Right,
doctor.
Paul, that's a good idea. Communication is key. Start with your doctor or your pharmacist to get more information.
Okay. All righty. Well, is there anything else that we should know about this opportunity? I'll call it.
Well, like I said, you can go to the FDA website. You can go to that as well. And as you said, you can go to the greenstonegenerics.com website to learn more about authorized generics and where to locate them.
Okay, so the federal government has some involvement here and talks about these kinds of things. So we, because since they have to approve all these drugs, correct?
I'm sorry. Just repeat the question again. I didn't.
So we can go to the FDA government website because the FDA has to approve these drugs as well, authorized generics or so on and so forth, right?
Right. Yeah. As I said earlier, all generic medications must meet FDA quality and manufacturing standards for approval, and the FDA considers all generic drugs have the same safety and efficacy as brand name drugs.
Do you know the process? Just a quick question. I mean, uh, well, I think we got enough information at this point, okay? And I know you got to move on to the next interview. But thank you very much, Dr. Zeif, and it's important information. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome, Paul. Have a great day.